leaves are falling from the maple trees, the evening uttering a restless sigh. The air is cooling with a brave, sad breeze, and the mournful sun burning in the sky. Like the seasons, we're parting from dismay. You to go on through the darkening wood, I return, depart, go some other way. You never knew me nor ever could. Just the fall is a stranger to the field, whether the harvest is of grain or wheat. And innocence must, like the summer, yield to the laws of nature, but not the truth. So, let us look long, but not to embrace. And our proper paths lead us from this place. Okay, it's June 6th, 2023. Right now by my wristwatch, it's 8:12 a.m. on the East Coast. But here in Goodland, Kansas, where it's 2 hours behind the East Coast, time is, it says on my phone, it says 6:12 a.m. I was just quoting from Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. And one of the most important messages I get from that book, which I've read repeatedly, okay, is that it's a great example for all of us how criminals who think they simply can't be caught, they've left no evidence or trace, or there's no way they can be found out, they get found out. And the story of those two men, which is recorded by Truman Capote in Cold Blood. These two men, Perry Smith and Dick Hickok, who in the 1950s ruthlessly murdered an entire Kansas farm family, the Clutters. Why explain the reason? You want to know what their reasoning was? Read the book. But they believed that this man had a safe in his house, and inside that safe, $10,000. So they were going to go rob him of that money and get away without leaving any witnesses. They were going to kill everybody there. So they arrive at the Clutters farm house there in the midst of nowhere in Kansas, and they're talking to Mr. Clutter in his office, and they're saying, okay, show us the safe. We want the money you have in that safe. And he says, I don't have a safe. I've never had a safe. And I've never kept money in this house. I don't keep money in the house. There's no money here at all. So these two guys are determined to get that money, determined to find out from this man that he must be lying. So they tie everybody up. There's his wife, Mrs. Clutter, and his two teenage kids, a daughter and a son. They're all bound and left in their rooms. And finally, they take Mr. Clutter down to the furnace room, and he's telling him, I don't have a safe. I never had a safe. I never had $10,000. I don't keep money in the house. There's no money here at all. So what do? They cut his throat and ruthlessly murder him down in the furnace room of the house. Okay. Then they go and they shoot each of the other members of the family in the head with a shotgun, one at a time. Then they go off. Well, have they gotten any money? Well, I think it's Perry Smith. While they're ransacking one of the kids' rooms, a quarter rolls under a desk, and Perry Smith is like straining under that desk to get that quarter, and that's all they get. They get 25 cents, and they murder every single one of those innocent people in that family. Nevertheless, they believe that they've left no clues, no evidence. They're not going to get caught for this crime. They can't possibly get caught. Well, they do get caught. And what is the evidence, the only piece of evidence that law enforcement finds that these two have left behind? One of the detectives finds a footprint in Mr. Clutter's blood in the basement. I believe it's Dick Hickok's tennis shoe leaves a print in Mr. Clutter's blood there. And the detectives get that print, and later, a long time later, I'm not sure, it's been a long time since I read that book. Well, these two guys have gotten away with this crime, and they've even gone down to Mexico. And if they hadn't come back to the United States, they might have got away with that. Because they stayed in Mexico, right? The only evidence the police had was this footprint in blood. Well, these two guys came back to the United States from Mexico, and guess what? They were picked up, I believe, for whatever it's called, when you don't have a job, you don't have a place to live, and you're sitting in a bus station back in the 1950s, and police come up and question you, and where are you from? Where do you live? Where are you going? And well, they arrest these two guys for whatever that's called. And guess what? Dick Hickok still has those tennis shoes on. I mean, he didn't know he left that footprint there. That was the only piece of evidence police had, and his tennis shoe was the same shoe he had worn the night of those murders, and the pattern in that shoe matched exactly the print in Mr. Clutter's blood. Well, the police had these guys on that. Had them both. They thought that they left no evidence, that they couldn't be found. And what's that a lesson? That's a lesson to criminals who think they can commit crimes against innocent people and get away with them, because they don't know they've left a footprint behind. And you often see in the news that this metaphor of the footprint appears often in the news these days. You hear about this particular business or person leaves a footprint that's identifiable. I'm not sure if that metaphor is coming from Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. I'm not sure about that, but the similarity is noteworthy for all of that. So I'm in Kansas and reflecting on such matters. And I'm just reflecting on this kind of thing. Why? Just coming into my mind. In Cold Blood is a landmark novel in terms of literary history. It's the first, what Truman Capote called a nonfiction novel. So since that time, other nonfiction novels have been written, and there's all kinds of offshoots of that. So when I'm in Kansas, I often think of Truman Capote's and the story it had to tell and the lessons it has to teach us.